And welcome to the Midday Show. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. It's trending topics day. We're gonna bounce around all over the place. We want to talk about Tonga. You may have heard of it during the tsunami a week or two ago. An interesting story about what's happening on the island. We bounced around. There's some news about Facebook. There's also some news about if anybody watches The Masked Singer, they revealed a character last night. Judges walked off stage. Apparently, it's all in shambles. We might touch on that as well and some other things that are happening around the world. Before we get to all of that, Mark, how are you feeling today?
Well, I'm not feeling nearly as good as all of these students around the area who are getting out at 1, who are like, do you remember when you were in school and the buzz started going around? You'd be like, I hear we're getting out early. I hear we're getting out early.
So it's so funny you say that.
It was almost better than Christmas morning when you got out of school early.
So it's so funny you say that because you and I've talked about this. My mom was a home ec teacher in the building. So a lot of times sometimes I knew before the other kids, sometimes, but there were times where like when it would start to snow, everyone would just look at me. Like somehow I would know because my mom was in the building. So anybody
You're like, dude, she's over there. Like I haven't seen her.
Anybody who has had a parent work in the same school building that they had to attend, I know they've gone through the same thing. Like you're the plug. You somehow have the inside info on everybody going home
early. Yeah, I just remember because the other thing in I'm sure in almost all school districts, when you get dismissed early for weather, everything after school is canceled. So it was, you got home at 1, you got to take a nap. You got to watch TV. You got to do all this stuff you never had to do. So, yeah, this is a very jovial time for many people under the age of 18 right now, all throughout the region.
This is also a sneaky thing, talking like just kind of nostalgic, like thinking back. It was always, if you thought you weren't going to have school the next day, the 1 o'clock was like a bonus. And that's what's happening today. There's a lot of kids who think they're not having school tomorrow. And this 1 o'clock thing is just an added bonus on top of it.
Can you hear a scratchy thing?
No, maybe I'm scratching up against my, I might be scratching up against my hoodie. That might be what it is. Can you hear it?
Now it's better.
Yeah, that's what it was. It was scratching up against my hoodie. But so here's the ironic, like this is like the triumvirate of school delays because they're going to get out at 1. Tomorrow's Friday. There's a good chance you're not having school tomorrow. Friday leads into the weekend. I mean, if I'm a school kid right now, here's the difference though. You and I never were a COVID student. Like to them being home from school might not even be cool anymore. I don't know. We have to talk to like Jimmy or other people.
If you told the kids right now, hey, we're leaving at 1, you're not coming back tomorrow, I don't think anyone's shedding any tears. And they say, we'll see you Monday. I think that's probably about good.
No, I don't disagree with you. Let's jump around. We'll start with something we were going to talk about yesterday. The island of Tonga. I actually asked you if you knew Tonga, and you jumped right on it. You were like, yeah, I know
this Tonga. Was you have to be my age. You're like, have you ever heard of Tonga? I was like, well, yeah, the Tonga Kid. He was a professional wrestler. I know Tonga. That's how I know Samoa, Tonga, Jimmy Snuka from the Fiji Islands. That's how you know all those tropical places.
So I was trying to explain to you what happened to Tonga last week, and you must have been living under a literal rock because you had no idea that this had happened. There was, I'm going to biff the science on this, but the general situation, there was a volcano, like an eruption underwater. You could see the cloud up from, the satellites, and they had all these pictures from above, massive, created tsunamis. One of them hit the island of Tonga, pretty destructive. And people, obviously the world came to their aid, as so often we do when there are natural disasters. The irony of this was Tonga was one of the last places on planet Earth that was essentially COVID-free. They had 0 cases. Why would you prep for it? You didn't need vaccinations. You really didn't need anything if you were on the island of Tonga. You were just out there and the world continued on as is on the island. Now, as the aid started to roll in from different countries and different supporters wanting to help, they have now had their first cases of COVID, which could be devastating on the island because their hospital structure, ventilators, masks, and even vaccination records, it's just non-existent. Like they just have nothing on top of just a tsunami hitting them, they literally have none of the medical or physical infrastructure to handle like a first wave of COVID. And the story's very, very interesting where, you think you're helping, but are you?
You told me this yesterday, and like you said, we were going to talk about it yesterday, and we ran out of time. The first thing I thought when you told me this is, I wonder how many other diseases that not just Tonga, but these other kind of island nations that are self-sufficient avoid,
Yeah.
because and what their immune system then not as diverse as like the rest of the world, who has so much intermingling and interaction that they're just kind of this insulated society. So it is a fascinating. You think in our modern world, you're like, well, everyone has the same immune system, and then you hear a story like this, and you're like, well, maybe they don't. And we all remember the stories of like, Pocahontas, and the white people came from Europe and brought smallpox and killed off the Indians.
Mhm.
And so it's anyway.
No, it's one of those. It's cliche, but it's only it's not a problem until it is a problem. And island life, if you watch documentaries or you read about some of this stuff, that's very much the case. Like they're always a step behind on some of this stuff because it was never a problem until you have to deal with it. And so they're just so there's this idea like COVID now, it's kind of like, well, the people who want to be vaccinated are vaccinated, and the hospitals have the ventilators and the masks. We have more masks now than we know what to do with anymore. People are trying to give them away. People now are trying to give away hand sanitizer. It actually cracks me up. Like when you go, like they can't get rid of the stuff. But it is one of those things like on an island where you've never dealt with it before. They've done none of this. They've done none of the prep. They haven't really it's not like they built extra beds or have extra ventilators or have vaccination. I honest to God, I bet no one's vaccinated on Tonga. I don't know that. I haven't looked, but there's a very good chance because why they shut down the island, it was what it was. Like, why would you? So it's very interesting, like a first wave of COVID coming through 2 years later on an island like that and what it will mean for the country. So last I looked, I think they had 9 cases in a 48-hour span. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. So on top of the tsunami, it also looks like COVID has officially made its way to Tonga.
I know that I'm in the vast minority on this, but
Mm-hmm.
I would think that like island life would be great for about 4 days, and then get me back to the continent.
I'm just that way with vacations in general. I'm not a great traveler. I'm good.
I would get bored. Like you can only lay in the beach and sit by the pool for so long, and then after a while you got to do something. And
for me, it's just mountains. Like if I go anywhere, like sometimes when we go down the coast and we get into like Carolina and places where it's flatter, and we were in Florida this past spring. Like there's times where I'm just like, I don't know how people just look and see like a sky of blue every day. And it's the same thing with being on an ocean, except it's just a blue ocean. Like I need mountains. I need scenery. Like I need to feel like there's something around me.
Then you need to go to Jamaica.
Okay.
Because it's like one big mountain.
Okay. That could work.
You live by the beach, but behind it is like, you can look out over the blue ocean. And that one of the neat things about it that's the only like tropical place I've ever been. The ocean is blue. It does not look anything like it looks in New Jersey or Maryland or anything. I mean, it is blue. Okay. And but then it's very mountainous, and it's because they even talked about why, and I don't know the geography of it, but it's Jamaica doesn't get hit by a lot of tornadoes because is it right by Cuba? There's another island that kind of protects it. So not tornadoes, hurricanes. So hurricanes usually get broken up before they get to them and stuff like that. But yeah, not all the tropical islands are flat, and they're not all little like Gilligan's Island. Some of them are bigger.
Right. No, I'm with you. Let's talk. Can we talk about the Masked Singer thing? Because the more I think about this, the more interested I am in it. For anybody who watches the Masked Singer, I believe, is it a Fox show? I want to say it's a Fox show.
Do you?
I do not know. And this is the funny thing. I will fully admit, I love like opening rounds of singing contests. I am a sucker for The Voice. I am a sucker for the early auditions on American Idol. Once they get into the competition stage, I watch none of it. But the like discovery like episodes, I'm a sucker for. I watch every single episode of The Voice, like the Discovery rounds. Love it.
They are good. I'll give you that. I will
yes.
not argue with you on that.
So The Masked Singer, it's been on Fox for a while now. I believe they're on season 7. They are currently taping season 7. It got leaked, according to Deadline, that someone was revealed last night, and it ended up being Rudy Giuliani. So if you've never seen The Masked Singer, they wear costumes, they sing, and then when you're eliminated, you have to reveal kind of who you are. And the judges try to guess who it is, like, every time. So Rudy Giuliani is revealed, and the judges walked off stage. And we've talked about the Capitol riots. We've actually had conversations about Rudy Giuliani, and I've told you before, I feel bad for him. I feel like he's a perfect example of how, like, longevity isn't always great. Like, if he would have went away like 15 years ago, he would be remembered very, very differently than he is today. I didn't really know how to take this, because a part of me is like, it's a music show. He's singing. Your judges, like, sit down and just judge it. Like, there's no way you can be that offended that they revealed Rudy Giuliani. But on the flip side of that, I also have admitted I'm kind of saturated by the whole Capitol riot,
you're a little numb
January 6th thing. I'm numb to it, and so maybe I'm not taking it as seriously as other people are, and I totally respect that. Like, I'm very aware of that internally. So I don't know how to take this, and I just broke the news to you, so I was curious just kind of what your thoughts were. My initial gut reaction is I think it's extremely bizarre. I don't understand. They act like it wasn't like Hitler took off his mask and revealed to himself on the show.
No, I'm with you. I mean, my first thought was, is there any chance that it's a setup and they're doing it for ratings? I don't know. I'm kind of with you. I mean, I understand why people are really upset. From people with that strong of a political bent, because Rudy on the other end, had that strong of a political bent. But at the same point, one of the things that I've always discussed on here is, what we've lost in America is the ability to disagree cordially. And so he's really Republican, and some of the judges are really Democrat. Like, just as you said, it's a show. Like, they're not here to judge his politics. They're not here to judge his opinions. They're here to, for the show. So it just, I don't know. You would think that we could deal in decorum with more people than we do. And yes, at the end of the day, like, it's a singing contest. Like, just judge the guy. Like, what the heck?
I was trying to think when I read this earlier, I was trying to decide, like, what is the line? Like, who is the person that they could have walked off on, where maybe I'm like, okay, like, I get it. And I couldn't come up with it. Like, I'm trying to decide. I mean, I guess if you truly believe that Rudy Giuliani was doing more than just his job, like, he was like, lawyers get hired to defend guilty people all the time. Like, they get hired to try to get people off. It's kind of part of the job. So to me, I don't think Rudy Giuliani ever did anything that wasn't part of his job. And so I just don't know if that merits treating him any differently.
I'm with you. Oh, I think in certain, if the roles were reversed and it was a very Republican panel, they would walk off on Colin Kaepernick.
Sure.
So it goes both ways. And I don't know. It's like, you're right. It's a singing contest. At the end of the day, it's a singing contest. So just judge them. And, here's the other thing. Even if we'll go to another extreme, say it was Trump. Say Trump comes out and say he sings really well. I don't know. Have you ever heard Trump sing? Maybe he's a good singer.
I haven't.
But who knows?
Trump once said he is the best singer.
Did he? I'm sure. Everybody talks about it. Everybody's saying it. But seriously, like, what if he was? What if he comes out and he's really good? Is it that impossible for a Democrat to sit there who's judging and be like, yeah, he wins? I don't even know how they work it. Is it that hard? I don't know. I would like to think that more of civilized society could do it. I know you and I would sit down with people of lots of differing views, and we would have a good time with it.
I would have. I would have been fascinated to just this is the other part too. I would rather hear the judges say something than walk off. Like I would like I don't know, like if you have an issue with them, like say it. I don't know. Like walking off to me just seems like a last resort. And just this wasn't a last resort. Like he's in a contest and you're judging it. Like judge it.
Well, and see, this is I wonder if it was a setup.
Yeah,
If they
you're much.
knew.
Can I say this real quick? Because you're going to dive into this and I want to hear all of it. You're so much better at finding these things than I am. Like, I never go to like, well, maybe it was they did on purpose. Maybe it's a ratings and stuff like that. And you always bring that up. And I'm like, oh, like that's like, yeah, like maybe it was. So anyway, go ahead. You're so much better
Well,
at
because
this
you
than I am.
think, because these shows, it's been on, what'd you say, 7 years it's been on. And
7 seasons.
So they have their audience. If you are not a Masked Singer watcher by now, you're not going to start unless you really, really work with someone, or you're dating someone new and they're like, you need to watch this show. But in general, it is what it is. So how do they get a new audience? Well, this is a way to get conservative viewers who, hey, I want to see Rudy Giuliani. And then it's a way to get new liberal viewers because they're so proud of their brethren who walked off on Rudy Giuliani. Then there's the people like me in the middle who are like, I wonder if the dude can sing. And wouldn't it? Because how old he's got to be 80, right? Is he 80?
He's up there. I don't know his age. I don't want to make a guess because I don't know, but it is.
And not that, I mean, Tony Bennett could still sing. There's lots of, and now I'm more curious to hear how he does. So like, I don't know. And again, we talked about it yesterday. All pub is good pub. We're not talking about other shows right now. We're talking about The Masked Singer. Other people are going to talk about The Masked Singer. And yeah, I don't know. Now, I'm not saying that's true, but I'm saying it could have been a strategy.
I don't disagree with you. Let's talk about Facebook really quick, because obviously we're on Facebook a lot. NorthcentralPa.com. We do a lot of our stuff through Facebook. They recently, I just told you, that was the first time that let's call it their followers, their audience, their users took a dip. I don't have the exact numbers. I may try to find it here if you start talking, but their users took a dip. And also the parent company Meta, they are facing the largest single day drop. They're estimating that they lost over $200 billion yesterday, the virtual reality platform. Facebook, I cannot remember a world without Facebook. It is hard for me to envision not having it. And I don't mean that by like, I love it and I have to use it. I just mean like, even your vernacular of like in the movie, they joke like she said, Facebook me, and just like, it's just this idea in your life that it's a thing and it exists. And it's almost, I don't want to say it's like water or air, but it's almost just like something that honestly just is in your life. I can't imagine a world we're at it. However, everything is a bell curve, everything. And if this is the first time that their users have declined, is there a world where 10, 15 years from now, it's MySpace? It's just something that like it was here and it's no longer. I'm very, very curious.
No, I am old enough to remember a time before Facebook, and it sucked. I mean, the 80s were great, don't get me wrong. But
sure.
There is my generation could not live without Facebook. It's literally where I get all my news. It's where I found out Johnny Fever from WKRP in Cincinnati died. What's his name? Howard Hessman. Like I just get all my news, and I see not only my national news, but my almost my personal news. I find out who changed jobs. I found out, who had babies, whose kids graduated, and all this stuff. It's just all right there. So now maybe for the next generation, for years and below, there's something different that comes along. Obviously, TikTok has changed the world, and there'll be something different. But for my generation, we are going to just ride with Facebook through to the grave, and we can't live without it anymore.
So one of the things that you said there, and maybe this is what I did a poor job of saying before, you just described it where it's almost more of a utility, like almost it's a calendar, it's a reminder, you use it for birthdays and for notifications and celebrations. And
by the way, I don't know. Did you see the message? It's Dan's birthday. Craig?
Yes,
Craig,
I did see. Yes,
it's his birthday
Terry.
today.
Happy birthday, Terry.
Yeah.
If I'm giving him a shout out. But it is like it's almost more of a utility. I don't know. I bet you 90% of the time when I wish someone a happy birthday, it is because I saw the notification on Facebook. A
Yes.
lot of times, if I end up going to an event that I myself wasn't directly invited to, it's because I saw the events posted on Facebook. And it's like, hey, come out for a good cause, or come out, so and so's performing here, doing this. So I guess it is more of like a utility. It's almost like, a wallet or a knife in your pocket that you just kind of always whip out and it's there and it helps you. I guess Facebook has kind of become that in my life a little bit. And so it's just very hard for me to envision the day to day without it.
Well, and even from the news aspect, and just like I love the thing of, and I have kids that are in high school. I have a girl in college. I have a girl that's a senior. I was seeing where kids decided they were going to go to college, and not
Yeah.
even because your best friends, there's that circle, but you're like, oh, I know that kid. That kid played football with that kid was into play with my daughter and whatever. And just seeing where they decided to go, it's not earth shattering news, but it's
Mhm.
cool. And again, the things like change jobs and having kids and having grandkids and who got married and whose kids got, because now I'm at the age where lots of people's kids are getting married and
Okay.
all that stuff. But another thing, I mean, and that's just kind of like, I don't want to say gossipy news because gossipy has such a negative tone to it, but it's just
Sure.
like interpersonal news about your friends' lives. But like there's the thing about real news, because it's your friends and because it's this group of people that you have mutual interests with or lots in common with, geographically or whatever, when they share stuff, oftentimes if they share something from the Sun Gazette or if they share something from Penn Live or if they share, oftentimes it's something that we're interested in too. So it's a way that like I didn't actually go to the news source to find it, but someone else said, hey, this was interesting to me. It might be interesting to all you too. And I was like, hey, as a matter of fact, it is. So it is. I learned so much from Facebook, and people are always like, oh, social media is just like where people chat and do memes and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I learned so much.
So some of the numbers on it, Facebook lost about 500,000 global daily users in the fourth quarter of 2021 compared to the previous quarter. That might not seem like a major drop relative to its under 1.93 billion total daily active users, but it represents a low point for the metrics driven company as the first time its user base has taken a dip in its company's history. So it's just like I said, if it is incredible if you zoom out and you take a broad approach at a lot of things, especially like metric driven things like online platforms, everything is a bell curve. Everything. And sometimes the bell curve is high, sometimes it's low, but it is unbelievable how everything has that natural ebb and flow to it. And so if this is the beginning of the back of that bell curve, it's going to be very, very interesting. The two examples I used, MySpace was a real thing, and it doesn't even matter in the landscape of the world today. And
I
then
think
the
it's
other one,
all. I
like,
think it closed. I don't think it's
yeah,
even there.
it might have. And then the other example is TikTok. And TikTok's the opposite example of like, well, how could we live in a world without Facebook? I don't know, because something like TikTok comes around and all of a sudden it's the number one search platform in the world right now is TikTok.
Well,
So,
one of the things that I think is going to be interesting whenever I see, what's that suggested friends part.
mhm,
And by the way, not to backtrack, but when you were talking about language that's come, I know whenever kids are in trouble and they're out of trouble now, I heard kids using the term like I'm out of Facebook jail because
okay,
even though it's whatever it's related to, but unfriending was never a term before until Facebook came along.
right.
But anyway, be that as it may, now I lost what I was going to say. What were we talking? Oh, teenagers. You'll go through and you'll see like, oh, suggested friends, and you'll see like a teenager, and you realize like my oldest daughter is 20. She has a Facebook account, but she told me she just like never, never, ever uses it.
Right.
So does that? I think there are a lot of those kids who have Snapchat, who have TikTok, who have Instagram, who have all these platforms, and they have a Facebook too, but do they ever use it? And as they get older, which one do they end up going to? Or is that generation going to use 5 or 6 for their whole lives just because they're used to it?
Well, yeah, one of the things that helped Facebook for sure was they were able to buy up some things, and you could argue it made them a monopoly. They will argue it did not, but they were able to buy out a lot of their competitors before they got big enough to compete with them. The biggest one being Instagram.
Yes.
And I think the attention that they have gotten over the last 3 to 4 or 5 years, it's kind of prohibited them from buying up some of these other entities that would have kept them, at the top with no major competitors. All of a sudden, in the last 5 years, people have their eye on you. They're claiming you might be a monopoly. All of a sudden, like, you can't really make an offer for TikTok. You can't really make an offer for other companies. And now you're kind of sitting here and going, okay, well, like, how do we stay relevant if we can't just buy out our next best competitor? And that's going to be the challenge for them. They apparently they thought the answer might be Meta, and right now, stocks are iffy, and there's no rhyme or reason truly to the stock's performance versus the company's performance. But right now, it's showing like it's not working the way that they had hoped with a younger audience.
Nope, I'm with you.
So it'll be interesting. Anything else? Can you think of anything? You want me to go through some trending topics
here? Get your shovels ready. This is what I'll say. I say this all the time. If you have a snowblower, and once you get bundled up, once you get out there and you get fired up, don't go to the edge of your property and stop. Just keep going. Go all the way to the end of the street, turn around, come all the way back. I'm not telling you got to plow out everybody's driveway and the walk up to the house and all that stuff.
With inflation, how much should people be giving a kid who shovels their driveway? What is the inflation snow shoveling rate?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't even know. What do you give a kid? $20?
I think it used to be it depended on what bill you had in your wallet. You gave them a 10 or a 20, right? It just, if you had a 20, you gave them a 20. If you had a 10, you gave them a 10. With inflation though, shouldn't that go up just like everything else?
It's a good question. I don't know. I just don't. I don't get the hassle of assuming you live in town. If you live somewhere where you have this vast and you have to plow, and so that's different. But if you're just a house in town and you've got to do your sidewalk and your driveway, the hassle is getting all bundled up, getting your boots out, getting the snowball. Like once you're bundled up and you're out there, I mean, you might as well keep going. That's what that's the thing that I've never understood, especially if the neighbor's out there and he's got a shovel and he's shoveling, and it's just so. Anyway, that's my community service announcement for the day.
I'm the guy who never wants to go out in the snow, and then once I'm outside, I'm like you said, I'm good. Like once I'm out and I'm having fun, I could stay out all day. Getting me to bundle up and go outside it's a hassle.
Yeah, as long as you're dressed warm, you're good. Once you get out there, you're good. And obviously the issue is if the wind's blowing. When you're out there and the wind's howling and you can't, but if there's no wind, once you're bundled, like I'll come in from snow blowing, once you get everything off, you're sweating if you've got, all that stuff on. So I don't know. That's mine. Help your neighbor out.
Oh, I hear you. Let's do just some quick things. Google's announcing a 20-for-1 stock split. You going to buy some Google?
Wait, 20 for 1?
Yeah. So I think the math, I think I saw it was like 3,000. You can buy one share now for 150 once they split it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So wow.
Yeah.
I'm not a stock expert. That seems like a huge split to me.
Oh, I believe it's the largest all time. Yes.
I mean, they usually just split in half, don't they?
Yeah. Lately, it's kind of been like a 4-for-1.
Has it really? Okay.
Yeah. Lately, it's been like a 4-for-1. I believe there was a 6-for-1 by one company. But 20-for-1, from everything I've read, that is the largest stock split.
So fill me in again. I know you just said that. What is it trading at now? 3,000?
I don't know the exact number. The comparison that I saw is it would basically be if it was at 3,000, you could get it now for $1.50. So I don't know if that's So I don't know if that's exactly where it's at now or where it was at, but that was the concept.
Yeah, because if it split 10 times and it was 3,000, it would go to 300. Yes. So 20 times would be 150. So yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Okay. So I just thought I'd throw that out there. No interest. Not a
I
Google
mean,
guy.
I'd love to be. I would be more interested to be a fly on the wall in the room as to why they think that's the way to go. Why did they
Okay.
pick 20? Why did they even split it in the first place? Because lots of stocks are, huge and they don't split. So
I think it's an incentive. If you're trying to make people, it's one thing to say I'm going to buy a share of Google and you're going to take $3,000, but it's another thing to say I'm going to buy a share of Google and it's $150. I think you're just going to grab people to do it that wouldn't typically do it.
probably, but you didn't
Yeah.
change. It's a cosmetic view of you didn't change
100%.
So
No,
anyway,
it's the grocery store selling a $1 apple and you say 2 for $2. Like it's
correct.
it's the same thing.
Correct.
No difference. National Butterfly Center in Texas is closing indefinitely because of threats from conspiracy theorists. Have you heard about this at all? This one's
Wait,
interesting.
what?
Yes, a National Butterfly Center on the Texas border is closing for the immediate future after conspiracy-fueled threats against the center escalated in recent days.
What's the butterfly conspiracy? I've heard of the butterfly effect.
Because it's next to the border, there are conspiracy theorists, whether it's QAnon or whoever it may be. It's because it's not just one group. They're saying it's like a conglomerate of groups, but they're saying that because it's a Texas border facility, it's being used to help traffic, sex trafficking, immigrant trafficking. Like it's just a trafficking center disguised as a national butterfly center on the border of Texas.
I got clickbaited into this. Isn't the Monarch Butterfly, don't they all migrate to the same place? And I thought it was in Mexico. Am I wrong about this?
I don't know if it's
salmon
Mexico.
swim upstream to where they were born.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Monarch Butterfly is very similar to that there is a place, and I thought it was in Mexico, but I could be wrong. And however far away they get, they always go back.
Sure.
And so maybe, I don't know, you could Google that if you're bored, but I think there's something about that. And Mexico rings a bell.
Yes. So anyway, so that's interesting if you want to look that up as well. I can't the National Butterfly Center being closed because of conspiracy. If nothing else says the 2020s more than the National Butterfly Center being closed down for conspiracies.
Right. Rainbows, unicorns, and butterflies. These are the most violent things in the world.
I don't know. We did a good job today. We didn't touch on anything about sports. Anything in the NBA trade deadline is going to come up. Super Bowl, obviously next weekend.
We got time.
Anything bothering you about sports that you want to bring up? This is your chance.
No, I don't really have. I mean, this is the kind of the lull before this week. I think for the Super Bowl is for people to get healthy. It's for guys that are banged up and beat up to kind of
give them for the chance. Game.
So what?
I thought you meant for the viewers to get healthy.
No.
Yes.
Yes. That's why the league did it, because it used to be sometimes it was 2 weeks, sometimes it was 1 week, and it's not. But
I'm like
there's
picturing
not a whole lot.
I'm like picturing Joe Garrison with like his feet in ice buckets, like sitting on the couch, trying to get prepped for the Super Bowl.
No, that's not what I meant. But so next week there'll be a lot more buzz about stuff, but this week is certainly the calm before the storm.
What about
what's gonna be weird about this year's Super Bowl is nobody hates the Rams, nobody hates the Bengals. Sure. So it's not like the Steelers are there, the Cowboys are there, the Eagles are there. Yeah, well, the Cowboys have been there a long time.
It's the Kumbaya Bowl.
There's a lot of that.
In entertainment, the new Pam and Tommy movie is about to come out. Have you seen this? Have you seen the trailer for this? Yes, there is a movie.
Is it better than the other one? I don't think it can be.
There is Seth Rogen stars in it. I'm blanking on the other guy that's in it as well. But it's going to be coming out. It's literally revolves around the video that was released from before, and then the fallout after it was released, and then how the people who released it, essentially how they were making money off of it, like their whole scheme and how they ended up with the tape and how they were trying to make money.
So it is or is not a sequel?
I don't think it's a sequel.
Oh.
No. Does
now I'm much less
that
interested.
ruin
I
that
do want to
ruins it
mention
for you?
this to the 4 people out there who care. I saw on my Facebook feed that sometime in March there's a Ronnie James Dio documentary coming out. And you don't know who Ronnie James Dio is because you don't like 80s music, but he was like the heavy metal guy. He took over in Black Sabbath as the lead singer when Ozzy Osbourne left. He is that. Like Jerry walked in and I was telling him about it, and he said, "I don't know who Ronnie Dio is." So he's you got to be like a metalhead to know, but that's kind of a big deal. He died of stomach cancer like maybe 10 years ago. But the dude could sing Rainbow in the Dark. If you don't know Rainbow in the Dark, just go YouTube it. And he's pretty good.
Okay, nice.
And he's about 4'10".
What's wrong with that? Are you saying 4'10's a problem?
I'm just saying, no, he was little. He was a little dude.
Is that how is that relevant? I'm trying to figure out how that's relevant.
I'm just saying, like Prince was like 5'2", and Prince could have posted up Ronnie Dio all day.
How isn't Tom Cruise like 4'11", like 5 foot tall?
Tom Cruise is not big either. Tom Cruise is not big. No, he is not.
Yeah, I've heard that he's kind of.
I've also Bruno Mars is little too, isn't he?
Yeah, but I feel like with musicians that's different because like you're on stage and your presence is already magnified. Acting and actors are different because you have to the whole stage, the whole performance, everything around you has to be scaled because you're only 5 foot tall. Like I've heard.
I think my daughter just told me a story about back in classic Hollywood. Was someone, not Humphrey Bogart, or was it Humphrey Bogart? Was Humphrey Bogart shorter than Ingrid Bergman? So whenever they filmed scenes, he had to stand on something.
Yeah, well, that's the point. Yes, exactly. That's the point I'm making. And I've heard stories too about like when Tom Cruise, like if the leading woman is like significantly taller, they try to create scenes and sets where like she's not towering over him. Yeah, like it's a very real. So I feel like for movie stars, your height is a talking point more so than in music.
That's fair. I get it. I'm just saying Ronnie Dio was not tall.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thanks to Weiss Markets for being our sponsor. And be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news.
Get your shovel.
It's coming. Is it though? I feel like if you're in the lower part of our region, I feel like it's going to be warm enough.
Well, I think ice is the fear today. I don't know what we're getting for snow, but ice is the immediate fear.
Yes. Real quick. Ronnie James Dio fans out there, if you never listened to Elf 1972, do yourself a favor and listen. Duo's metal vocals meets ragtime piano.
That's probably Dio and just a typo.
Okay.
I know he was with Elf. I've never listened to Elf. Because like I said, he was with Sabbath and he was with Richie Blackmore's Rainbow.
Okay.
I knew he was with Elf to start. I will do that. The dude could sing. There's no doubt about it.
And then one last thing. In the future, anytime someone asks, is there anything in sports that's bothering you? I suggest always replying with, other than the fact that the MLB is a joke. Every time. There you go.
Are they talking about the Hall of Fame? Or are they talking about something beyond?
I think they're just talking about baseball in general.
Oh, baseball in general is far from a joke. The Hall of Fame has issues. There's no doubt about it. Because there's a bunch of guys that should be in that aren't.
Until as long as the Houston Astros are the 2017 World Series champions, I'll never be able to take baseball seriously.
The thing that will always work for baseball is the time of year. It's warm. It's, you can go to the ballpark. It's 78 degrees. You sit there in your short sleeves and t-shirt. You enjoy the game. You miss an inning to go to the bathroom. It doesn't matter. It's not like it's just different. It's so comfortable and enjoyable and relaxing. And it's like, it's just it's hard. It's going to be hard for baseball to ever go away because it's just hey, let's go to the game. All right, that's cool. Yeah, it's like,
but it's like the equivalent of just sitting at a bar. You're just sitting at a baseball game.
But it's different because there's a little excitement, and you're at an outdoor bar, and there's something to watch and something to root for.
I did a poor job with that analogy. Let me rephrase that. It's the equivalent of going to a bar, meaning like there are great bars and there are bad bars, but you're still sitting at a bar and you're going to have a drink and you're going to have a buddy and you're going to like have a good time. I would argue that you could make the argument that the MLB is like the bad bar. Like, yeah, like all the things you said are still true,
Compared to what?
I'm just saying.
Compared to like NBA games are not good in person. You probably
It
love it
depends
because
where
you're
it
adjusted.
depends where no, an NBA, I agree with you. An NBA game depends where you sit. If
No,
you are
it depends
close,
how hard they're
no,
playing.
no. If you sit close enough to the floor, first of all, you learn real quick if you sit close enough to the floor, they are trying. Like there's no half speed in an NBA game like when you're down on the floor. Anyway, if you're close enough that you can hear the athletes, it's worth every penny to go. If you're high enough up that you are now removed from that aspect of the game, you might as well stay home and watch it on a TV. There, I agree with you. Like, there's no point. Whereas a baseball game, you can be up in the upper decks. It's still sunny. There's still it's the environment. I totally get what you're saying, but
If you
I don't know.
get if you get a 16, 18 point game in the third quarter, all of a sudden you're kind of you're dialing it back. Yes, I'm sure. Oh, well, I'm not even sure in the first quarter how hard they play. I mean, they play hard. I'm not saying they don't, but there's an intensity level it's not there.
I
But
don't
in
know. The
baseball,
irony, timeout. The irony.
hold on, let me finish my thought. In baseball, the two people that matter most always care, and that's the pitcher and the hitter. And the
Okay.
pitcher and the hitter always care.
Yes. The irony of not liking professional basketball because guys aren't trying their hardest, but being thrilled with baseball while a guy's standing in right field talking to guys like in the stands behind them and like jogging out and then not moving for 3 innings at a time is hilarious.
Well, dude,
It's hilarious.
the guy standing in right field is the equivalent of the guy standing in the opposite corner while they're playing pick and roll on the other side. He's just not doing anything.
An NBA basketball player gives more effort in one professional game. If they play 25 minutes in a professional basketball game, they have exerted more energy and effort than a right fielder does in an entire month. It's the idea that to compare the two and act as if they're not trying, but baseball's so great is insane.
No. And I'm not, when you're talking about physical exertion, I mean that, okay, I get it. But like, it's still, when
there are outfielders who, when they jog into the outfield, they don't know the score. They don't know, they're just going out into the outfield. And if a ball goes up in the air, I'm gonna track it down.
But there's the aspect of baseball that is unique. And like I said, the pitcher always cares. And the hitter always cares. And those two are the game. And then at the moment when the ball gets hit, then somebody else joins the game.
Yeah,
but the pitcher and the hitter are the game, and they always care, always.
You're explaining baseball, which I know how baseball works. Not as good as you, but I do know how baseball works. What I need you to do is explain to me how the thing that bothers you in professional basketball is that you don't think guys are trying, but in your favorite sport, 8 out of the 9 guys in the field don't try 95% of the game.
No.
So it makes no sense.
They're not. It's not that they're not trying. I'm saying that there are guys who dribble the ball into the front court all the time in an NBA game and give a possession away on a half-hearted shot because they have 700 possessions a game and it doesn't really matter. But in baseball, you very, very rarely find – you'll see guys that give it bats away kind of, but not very much because that's their whole life is their batting average, their home runs, their RBIs. So for 4 times a night, when David Ortiz went to the plate or when Derek Jeter went to the plate or anybody, some backup middle infielder, they are 100% focused because it is all them 3 times a game.
Yes. I have never met a basketball player who took a shot and wanted to miss ever.
Well, obviously. But
okay, so then I don't know what you're trying to explain.
Are you going to tell
nobody in the NBA has ever dribbled over half court, taken a shot, and said to themselves, "Boy, I really hope I clank this off the back iron."
Are you going to tell me the effort level on every and the care on every possession is the same
in basketball?
Like
no,
a playoff.
No, but I'm not the one arguing that professional basketball is bad because of a lack of effort. You are.
No, this is what I tell people all the time because I get people who say the NBA is a terrible product. And I say, you're crazy. Just watch it in the playoffs when they value every possession. But in the regular season, I don't think they value every possession. I really don't.
Because you're trying things. It's the same thing like in baseball. Like you might throw out a different middle reliever. You may try somebody. You might switch the middle infielders. I don't know, but like they're trying things, and it's the same thing in the NBA season. Like you're trying different rotations. You're trying plays that you've never run before. Like you're trying things throughout the year to see what will eventually work in the playoffs. The idea that like these turnovers or these missed shots or stuff they occur because guys don't care for the most part is ludicrous. I mean, 97% of what's happening in an NBA regular season game is happening with a purpose, and they're happening for a reason. There's 3% of it where, like, LeBron James is on the third day of a road trip, and he decides I'm not running back on defense this possession. So, no, let's
rephrase this because I never said lack of care. How about lack of focus?
I disagree because they're trying things.
So you don't think that, like, in the third quarter of a 18-point NBA game that the intensity level's down and the focus is down?
Compared to the playoffs, yes, but it's the same thing in every sport. Every sport, it's down.
No,
you're so
the pitcher the pitcher's not there in a 9-1, and he's like, instead of throwing 92 this inning, I'll throw 82 this inning. The pitcher and the hitter always care.
I'm sure in game 100 that when the center fielder jogs out, he's just as focused to track down a ball.
It's about the pitcher and the hitter, the pitcher and the hitter, the pitcher and the hitter.
Yeah, but that's because your brother was a pitcher. If your brother was a shortstop, it would be about the defense.
That's what the sport is.
I understand, but your brother was a pitcher, so for you, the game is very different. Because for other people that like weren't that involved with it or don't look at it that way, there's a whole game of baseball where it's not the pitcher and the catcher.
No, it's not the pitcher and the catcher; it's the pitcher and the hitter.
The pitcher and the hitter. I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, if like when I go and watch, like, I watch Kyle Datras because I coached Kyle Datras. When I'm watching Kyle Datras play, guess what? I'm not watching the entire time. The pitcher and the hitter. I'm watching Kyle. Where's he standing? Did he back up? Did he move forward? What's he saying to the middle infield? So I'm just saying there's a whole game going on that doesn't involve the pitcher and the hitter. That's all.
And you can be watching the hot girl that's sitting in the row in front of you, and she may get as much action as Kyle Datras, but he could go play third base and never touch a ball the whole game.
Exactly. That's the point I'm making. So the point I'm making to you is by game 100, there's no chance that his attention, his focus is as high as it is in game 1, the same way as it is in basketball. They're both trying.
But the pitcher and the hitter are. I don't see why you're missing my point.
I just disagree. I don't think there's any way. So you're saying they're like robots, and every time the pitcher goes out, he's as ingrained as he is game 1 to game 20. There's no chance. And it's the same way with the hitter. There's hitters who have bad days. There's hitters who have good days. There's hitters who go to the park and their whole world is great. There's hitters who go to the park and their grandmother died the day before, and they're not thinking about hitting a baseball. So then what are you trying to say?
I'm saying there are guys in basketball all the time who, especially in shot clock games, who are just like, here's a shot, and it was a good shot, was it a bad shot, was it better? A pitcher never gets the ball at a 2-2 count, and he's like, yeah, whatever. I'll throw whatever. I don't care. It's just, whatever. The last guy had a 2-2 count. It's 1-1. The next guy's going to have one. I have these all day. They're just never like, whatever.
You don't think so? You don't think there's any pitcher who just walks up to the mound and just says, I'm just throwing heat today? I'm getting it. I'm throwing it. We're playing.
Well, only the guys who pretty much all they have is heat. But
you don't think there's hitters that go up to the plate and their only goal is like, I am hitting one out. I'm hitting one out. It's going out. It's going out. That's it. Like, that's all they're thinking about.
Yes, but they have a plan with it. They're like, I'm looking first ball breaking ball, or I'm looking for a ball away, or
absolutely. And in the NBA, someone might take a bad shot at the end of the shot clock, but I'm sure it's because like they came off a pick and roll, and it's like, oh, they did a good job switching it. I didn't get the advantage I thought I was going to get. Guess I better, for fun, I'm just going to take this step back and put it up at the rim with 3 seconds on the shot clock. It's no different.
Well, first of all, it's way different. And I don't want to ever get away from this and be thinking that the NBA, that guys don't bust their ass all night, all the time, because they do. But you just said take bad shots at the end of a shot clock. You watch an NBA game, there will be guys that take bad shots at the end of the shot clock and in the middle of the shot clock.
And there's guys who throw bad pitches.
There's bad shots all night.
And there's guys who throw bad pitches when it's an 0-0 count. So like, what's the difference?
But they're
There's guys who
Their
there's
focus
guys who
level's
there's
different.
okay. I disagree. I disagree. They're professional athletes. I promise you, a baseball player is not more focused than a basketball player in the middle of a regular season. They're not. They're
The
not.
hitter, I'm telling you, the hitter and the pitcher are always focused. And I'm telling you, in basketball games, the way basketball is, that you give me now, if it's a tie game, I'm sure their focus is way different than if it's a 16-point game. But in baseball, even if you're down 9-1, the pitcher and the hitter are always focused. That's my opinion.
And that's fine. This is another point of it too. There's when 10 dudes are on a basketball floor, 10 dudes are playing basketball. And what you just described to me,
that was profound.
It is. And here's why it's profound. Because what you just explained to me is that the majority of the time, when there's 10 dudes on a baseball field, 2 are playing baseball. So
Correct.
how are you going to explain to me that there's more focus in a baseball game in the middle of the season than there is in a basketball game in the middle of the season? Because if I'm not doing something on a basketball court at all times, it is very noticeable. Whereas I can be the 8th guy on a baseball field, not do anything for innings at a time, sometimes games at a time if the ball doesn't get hit to me, and nothing happens. Okay, so the idea that the focus level in baseball is somehow like this pristine thing that is so much higher than it is in basketball is insane. It doesn't make any sense.
Because if you listened to what I said, the focus level, I only talked about 2 guys.
Yes, that's my point. It's 2 out of 10, where in basketball, it has to be 10 out of 10. It has to be. If 10 out of 10 people aren't trying on a basketball court, the product doesn't work.
Jeff, hold on. Stop a minute. And we've gone way too far on this. You can't tell me in the John Stockton, Karl Malone era that half the time when the Utah Jazz was playing offense, there was a guy, Mark Eaton, went and stood. And they said, you come down on offense and stand. And after they decide who's going to shoot, then you try to get a rebound. But there are lots of guys. There are lots of guys in the pick and roll era that offense was not 5 guys flowing. I know basketball's changed, but it's
right. But you're like, you don't think like they're screening away, and you don't think they're running back and playing defense, and they're like they're still involved in the game. Like,
well, the shortstop, when there's a guys on base, they have to cover second. They're worried about which pitches and who's stealing, and if he steals. Fine. It's not like the outfielders do a lot of stealing. But
again, remember who's defending right now. You tried to say that baseball was more focused than basketball in the middle of a regular season game. And I'm the one telling you I disagree. You're trying to make it seem as if I came on here and was like, basketball, they're way more focused than those baseball phonies out there. And that's not what happens.
I said the hitter, and I will repeat this and we can rewind it, play it. I would say the hitter and the pitcher are always focused. And I know they taught me in marriage counseling, you never say always or never. So I get that, because I'm sure there are guys that give away count. But generally speaking, and 99.9% of the time, the pitcher is always giving max effort and the hitter is giving max effort. That's what I've said. And I've said in an NBA game, when you've got a blowout in the 3rd quarter, when it's your 4th game in 6 nights, that guys are not always giving their max. All 10 guys on the court are not always giving. That's what I said. And that's what I'll stick with. In the playoffs, yes. In tonight, there's going to be a West Coast game that's a blowout, and you turn it on, and there are not guys that are running up and down the court like it's March Madness.
I still can't wrap my head around the idea that you think baseball is this pristine thing where every pitcher and every hitter is just 100% invested in what they're doing. And
they're pretty invested.
It's ludicrous. It's not. There's no chance. They play 100. How many? 154 games.
But as a hitter, you only bat 4 times a game, 5 times a game. That's it. You only have 4 or 5 opportunities.
I get that, but they're still they're not robots. Like, there's other things going on in their world.
Thanks for that.
I'm just saying. Well, no, you don't, because you're like max focus, max intensity, max everything, baseball, baseball, baseball. And it's like, no, there's no way. There's no way it's that. It's just not. It can't be. It can't be that much more focused than the regular season game in basketball. It can't.
If it's tie, if it's close, yes. Let's go back to this point. If you go to a Major League Baseball game, a regular season game number 50, or you go during the regular season game number 50, I can assure you that no matter what the score is, no matter what's happening, the pitcher and the hitter are always really trying.
Okay.
If you go to NBA game number 50,
I can assure you that every time the ball leaves a player's hand, he's hoping he is making max effort to have the ball go into the basket.
Correct. But that's only one guy. Hold on.
There's no difference.
Hold on. There's only one guy that can shoot. I can also assure you that in game 50 of an NBA game, if it's close, they're all killing it. If it's a blowout and it's third quarter, it's early fourth quarter, then there aren't 10 guys on the court killing themselves.
Yes. And I can assure you that when a baseball game, when they're up 10, when it's like 12-0 in the 8th inning and a ball gets hit in the shallow left field, the left fielder is not going all out to make a diving catch to catch the baseball. There's no difference. There's no difference. There's no difference.
The pitcher and the hitter.
No difference.
You're not listening.
No difference. Baseball's not better. It's the same. It's not this great thing. It isn't. It's the same.
The pitcher and the hitter always try. The pitcher and the hitters are always killing. Always.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show again. That was like a double episode. That was great. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to West North. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com.
About the pitcher and the hitter, and you end up with the left fielder. I never mentioned the left fielder. All I said is the pitcher and the hitter, the pitcher and the hitter. And you're like, well, the left fielder's not trying. Maybe not.
That's fine. If you're only going to talk about the pitcher and the hitter, then I get to only talk about the shooter. And you wouldn't let me talk because every time I said nobody who's ever shot a basketball didn't want to go in, and you're like, but the other guys, they're just standing in the corner.
Nobody so like you can't have it. To strike out
you can't.
That's the stupid.
So you can't have it both ways. If you only get to talk about the pitcher and the hitter, then I only have to talk about the person with the ball. That's only fair.
But I wasn't saying
nobody in the NBA with the ball has ever not wanted to score. Ever in the history of the NBA. Ben Simmons, but everybody else has wanted to score.
Can I respond now?
Absolutely.
I also didn't say what they wanted. I was talking about effort.
Yeah.
Every hitter wants to hit a home run. Every pitcher wants to strike everyone out. I don't care what they wanted. I'm saying how their effort level. That's what I'm saying.
There
are lots of
every pitcher and every hitter, 100% effort, 100% focus and effort every single time.
No,
there's nothing else on their minds.
No,
there's nothing like, hey, I'm up 8-0 here, and I know I'm not going to finish out this game, but I might go another inning. So maybe like I'm going to stop tweaking my ankle like because it's sore. So I'm just going to get through this inning, play the plate, and everything will be okay. You don't think that ever happens? It's just 100% every time it comes out of their hand.
You asked your question. Now let me respond. If guys are dealing with an injury and trying to navigate through, yes, I would say that many, many, many more basketball players take bad shots than baseball players take bad at bats. Now, I know you're also going to say mathematically, of course, because NBA players take thousands of shots during the season and Major League Baseball, and I get that, but that goes to my argument. There are many, many more bad possessions in basketball than bad at bats in baseball.
Yes, but you also get to play you get to play real defense too. Like I know technically in this scenario, I know technically in this scenario the hitter is the defense. Like I get that, but like
no, the pitcher's the defense, the hitter's the offense.
Well, no, because we were talking about pitchers, so thus the person with the ball releasing it is the shooter. So in this scenario, like technically the batter is the defense. All I'm trying to say to you is like, because basketball and there's a defense and everything else, sometimes it looks like you're not trying hard, but sometimes the defense is just trying harder. Sometimes the defense is just better. Like sometimes they just play good defense or they take the ball from you or things happen because the rules dictate. Like if the batter was allowed to come out of the batter's box and like try to like be in the pitcher's face, there'd be some times where people would be like, boy, the pitcher looks really off today. Like he doesn't look like he has it. He doesn't look very focused. Like, but if you're the pitcher, like you kind of just, you get like, you're in your zone. You get to like, okay, yes, no, who, like, ha, throw. Like, so there's, like you kind of get to look more put together. Whereas in basketball, like you can look awful in basketball and it has nothing to do with your level of effort or focus. The defender or the defense was just better.
Okay, I'm going to pay, and then we're going to end this. I'm going to pay some young kid who's good on the internet, and he's going to find me NBA clips of guys who have just totally phoned it in. And then
Okay.
he's going to go through Major League Baseball, and I want to see a time that a pitcher is throwing, and he's throwing
Okay.
60 miles an hour because he doesn't care, or a hitter's batting left-handed because he doesn't
Gotcha.
care instead of right-handed, or he's swinging one-handed, and we'll
Gotcha.
see.
Okay, and then I want the same kid to go through and look at fly balls that dropped fly balls that dropped 4 feet in front of an outfielder who didn't dive for it because they were winning. And then when they throw the ball in, the second baseman doesn't try to like catch the relay and it just like scoops or bounces off, and the third baseman just picks it up and tosses it to the pitcher because they're not trying the best they could. Because they know it's okay.
Listen, and I will tell you this too, and I will tell you this from being a baseball guy. It is very, very rare that, like on a blooper, that a left fielder will tank it because of score, unless he's dealing with an injury, because he knows his pitcher and his catcher are going to be pissed because it's their job to get outs. And my pitcher's out there busting it, throwing it 95 miles an hour, and I'm going to lollygag after this. It is much more rare than you would think.
Correct. And when Stephen Curry has 7 assists, and he throws the ball to Moses Moody in the corner, Moses Moody isn't thinking this is just another shot. Moses Moody knows if I don't make this, I'm costing Stephen Curry an assist, and I'm going to hear about how I missed this shot, or I wasn't shot ready, or I wasn't prepared, or I wasn't in the right spot. Like, it's all relevant. It's all
what if
the
Steph
same.
Curry's not in the game?
Baseball, then it's somebody else's assist. It's the same thing.
Steph Curry's assists matter more than the other guys.
Okay, and yes, and some pitchers' stats matter more than the other pitchers'
Okay,
stats.
I'll give you that.
Okay,
I will give you that.
It's the same.
All right, I'll give you that.
The same. Baseball's not pristine. Thank you guys for watching.
I never said it was.
You think it's this? It's just not. It's not. Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Thanks for putting up with Mark and I, and we will see you guys tomorrow.
And I love the NBA playoffs. I love them. I really do.